All right. Modern Relics podcast. I'm Angel He's Lucky. We're back one more time. Holy
Here
cow.
we
I'm
are.
sorry the audio was goofy last week. I was so sick. I was just like, I was mashing buttons. I'm like, turn it on. But I had your levels way down. Not so that I could subconsciously lord over you with my more superior, louder voice. I just was sick and wasn't paying attention. So we're back now. I think the levels are fine. Sounds okay. We'll look online. Mashing buttons. I'm like, turn it on.
Do I sound okay?
I had your levels
Let's see.
way
Do
down.
I
Not
sound
so that I
okay?
could subconsciously lord over you.
I'm gonna
with
just
my
listen.
more superior,
Just get a
louder
double
voice.
looping feedback for the pod here.
I just was sick
All right.
and wasn't paying it. Yeah, you sound great.
Good.
Perfect. So Halloween's over.
It is.
October is behind us now. We got
Do you
voting
get
stuff going
trick-or-treaters?
on. We got, dude, the holidays are here. I don't even feel
Yeah.
it this year. I don't even feel it. I'm just like, wasn't like August a week ago? No, it wasn't. I'm behind schedule on the holiday cheer.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah, we still have Halloween stuff up, but that's because voting season came in so quickly that we haven't had time to really adjust.
Mhm.
Plus, the kids are doing their own thing now, so it's really hard for us to kind of like engage with all of it.
Mhm.
But Halloween was, I don't even know. Like, I don't really even remember. I think I was at work. I was at work, then came home. I think we played some Mario Golf.
Nice.
And I think we got a total of maybe 6. Kate and her boyfriend were here, but
Yeah.
that was it. That's all. Like, I think we got 6 trick-or-treaters, but that's it. It's not really a holiday that, I don't dress up. I
Yeah.
don't go to parties. I don't do anything like that. It was basically hanging out with the kids. Now the kids are too old to hang out with, so they go do their own thing. So it's just another day for us. Like, we just don't really get involved. Now, like you, I am also a big Christmas guy, and I'm a
Yeah.
Thanksgiving guy.
Yeah.
I'm down for both of those, and I like to get into do all the traditions, get into all the spirit of it and everything. But man, I don't know. There is just kind of a vacuum of kind of the holiday spirit right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's progressing every year, but I'm having a harder and harder time every year getting into it. And I don't
Same.
want that.
I mean,
want,
it was to the point, even for Halloween, I just put a giant bowl on the porch of Carolina Reapers and a little sign on there that said limit 1 strawberry per child, please. And then just let them have it, I would like to have done that. I would have gotten some phone calls or some in-persons, I'm sure. I had
saw
no
a meme
customers
of-
this year.
I saw a meme of somebody who put out a giant bowl of pho soup and just said 1 slurp each, please.
Those are my favorite, like a bowl of cigarettes, please leave the lighter, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. Oh, I have something cool to show everybody. This is kind of a fulfillment of a lifelong dream. This is how my week is going starting today.
Oh.
I got Taylor 214 CE. It's one of the guitars I've wanted my whole entire life. And it was an amazing deal a month ago, and I had to wait for a whole bunch of stuff. And it came in today, and it sounds and sustains really, really well. So it's a Indian rosewood back and sides with a torrefied spruce top, and it sounds insane. So I finally have a guitar that doesn't cut my fingers on the frets when I'm playing it, and it just came in this afternoon. So I'm pretty hyped.
Beautiful. Wow. That is gorgeous. I know
Yeah.
you've been waiting on that one for a while, so
Yep, it's exciting times. So that's it for my week. Is just basically started out yesterday at work or back at Redacted. So
yeah. I'm very happy as the the World Series is wrapped up.
Yeah.
And my Dodgers won by that much.
I saw that.
Much.
And I thought to
Yeah.
myself, we missed a glorious opportunity to take shots at Seattle, Washington last week. So I'm going to rewind a little bit and say I did find it perfectly Seattle, by the way, that what it was the first time in 24 years that they'd even made the playoffs or whatever. And then they're the last and only team left in the MLB that didn't make a World Series. And they found a way to shit the bed for their fans one more time, which is prototypical Seattle sports team.
Yeah.
Like this,
Yeah.
we saw the Seahawks win against the Patriots. And as they threw the last play of the game to seal it up, nope, was picked off and they lost. And the Patriots won the Super Bowl, which they've won one before, but like this was like, oh my gosh. So then fast forward, it was the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. And then the Blue Jays, they had a game lead and then like an 18 inning game, 3, I think, or 4. Crazy ride. I have highlights queued up, but I haven't watched any of them because I'm not like baseball, but sounded like it was a nail biter the whole time.
Yeah, I was. I watched every inning and more stunning thing. Like this was the most exciting World Series I think I've ever seen in my lifetime. And it was one kind of craziness after the other with the 18 inning game, with different people kind of coming out of the woodworks to be kind of the game heroes, crazy plays, weird anomalies, one after the other, of a back and forth brawl that ended up being a comeback from the Dodgers, who should have dominated due to their roster. Going into it, everyone thought the Blue Jays would put up a fight, but that it would be pretty much a clean sweep.
Yes.
But the Dodgers played the worst that they've played all season during the World Series. I think they collectively batted like 160, which is trash. It's absolutely atrocious. They did not play good baseball. And the Blue Jays were playing top-notch baseball. They were doing really well. But just the way everything kind of fell, it just ended up being that close to the point where it was the 11th inning of the 7th game and they had tied it up in the 9th. The Dodgers tied it up in the 9th, coming from behind. There was a couple of crazy plays, and then, some dude off the lower end of the roster pops one out for a single shot home run to take them one above. And then after that, they had to hold him, and they held him with a double play on the last thing. And it was a remarkable, but like heart attack inducing 7-game series.
So, couple questions. First, this is a back-to-back championship for the Dodgers, yes? They won.
Correct,
last year. Okay. And then second, how does baseball work? The way you described it makes it sound like if there's 9 innings in a game and we have to find a winner, so we play on, we're in the 11th, I score a run up, the game is not over. I have to go back on defense and ensure that they don't tie it up or exceed that value.
You're the visiting team. The home team always gets the last at bat.
Okay.
So if you're the visiting team and you knock one out and take yourself one above, you still have to finish the inning, and that's only half an inning. So the inning goes, and to finish off the inning, the home team gets the last at bat.
Hello, S-Lance23, welcome. Okay, that makes sense, because that's one of the things that I didn't understand, because football, they do a thing in overtime where like the first touchdown, the game's over. But if you kick a field goal, the other team gets a chance to either score a touchdown or also kick a field goal, and then play goes on. I think after 2 overtimes, they will result in a tie because of the limitations on TV rights and whatever else. But baseball, you just keep going and going. And I just didn't know how that worked. So
yeah, hockey's the same way, where it's once you go into OT, it's whoever scores first.
Yeah, sudden death kind of thing.
Right.
Okay.
And so, but baseball, because of the structure of the game, an inning is cut in half where you have the top of the inning and the bottom of the inning. The bottom of the inning home team always gets their last at bat.
So each
And
team in an inning pitches once and bats once, and then the inning is over.
Yes.
I see. I thought the inning
Correct.
was each team on either side, and then inning 2 is the reverse, and inning 3 is the reverse. But that makes sense. Each team gets to try to bat and pitch in the same inning, and then the inning's over. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally, you guys can laugh at me all you want, and that's fine. I know nothing about baseball. So,
Yeah.
but that's cool. Cardiac
the Boys in
Kids
Blue-
pulled it out, huh?
Right now, of course, everyone's scrutinizing every play. Had this guy let off a little bit more, he would have beat the throw,
Sure.
that kind of stuff. But really, where it's coming down to is money, contracts. They're complaining that the Dodgers just spend too much money. But if you really look at it, like,
Well, I brought that up a couple weeks ago, right? Like, what would baseball look like with a salary cap?
right, and that's actually been floated around a lot. And what's crazy about that is, let's see. So if we look at the most World Series championships,
Yankees,
and
right?
Yankees, right?
Yeah.
And no one complained about a salary cap. Everyone always just assumed that the minute a good player came up through the A's or through the Indians or whatever, that it'd be a season or two before the Yankees just acquired him because they had the money to do it. And they have 27 World Series championships. The next following one is the St. Louis Cardinals with 11.
Wow.
So, followed by a tie of the LA Dodgers and the Boston Red Sox,
right? Yeah.
at 9. So, and in fact, the A's are a 3-way tie with them. So it's actually the A's, Oakland A's, LA Dodgers, and Boston Red Sox have all tied for 3 championships, or 9 championships. That's in comparison to New York's 27.
Yeah. And
So-
Seattle, 0 still.
Right. Yeah. Seattle's the only one who's never even been to the World
They've
Series.
never even got a ticket to the dance.
All of the other teams have actually made it,
Yeah.
but like the Brewers haven't won, and there's a couple of teams that haven't won,
Sure.
but they've at least been there. And then followed by the San Francisco Giants at 8, Pittsburgh Pirates at 5, Cincinnati Reds at 5, the Atlanta Braves at 4, and the Detroit Tigers at 4.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that have won multiple championships over the course, So to say that LA, like any other team, in fact, other teams have spent more than LA,
Yeah.
even this season, but they didn't choose wisely with their roster. And LA just kind of really were really wise. And instead of using it as profits, they decided to get players to create a dynasty. They're not losing a single pitcher next year,
Yeah.
and none of their stars. Everyone's sticking around. So that's kind of like the name of the game. That's kind of what you want to do, is build an awesome team. But what really is reflected in the Dodgers is they don't play like individual stars. They don't play like they are, and this got noticed a lot throughout all of the season. You've got like multiple All-Stars and multiple future Hall of Famers on the Dodgers right now.
Mhm.
You've got Freddie Freeman, you got Shohei Ohtani, you've got the other Japanese pitcher Yamamoto or whatever. You've got Mookie Betts. You've got like all of these huge names, and they're all loaded, stacked. Like even like Will Smith, their catcher, is phenomenal. Over and over and over again. You've got this crazy team. But none of them, they're not prima donnas. None of them. Freddie Freeman, none of them. They're all like work together and as a team. They're not trying to just be the superstar. They're not trying to be, they have noticeably congealed as a really solid unit together, and you can tell, and it shows on the field. They just work hard. They're not prima donnas, they're not superstars, they're a team. And the coach has been somebody that they've given a lot of accolades for cultivating that environment and cultivating that leadership. And so I think that has more to do with the back-to-back World Series wins more than even the money and more than the superstardom, stuff like that. I think that a coach who can take good talent and make them work together ends up creating a baseball dynasty. And that's what you're looking at with the Dodgers right now. So, but that's my 2 cents on the World Series and on the Dodgers. But
well, congratulations to the Dodgers and their fan base once again.
Yeah.
I have a returning favorite. It's defending woke logic. Are you ready for this?
I am.
It's going to lead right into our first topic tonight.
I'm looking forward to this.
How can you have No Kings protest and immediately beg the Kings for food stamps? Just like a week or two later. It's crazy. We're going to talk about the government shutdown a little bit and the fact that SNAP benefits have been at large and people are threatening to riot. I don't understand how people cannot see the cause and effect of this. That said, when you point fingers one party to the other, you kind of have to imagine, well, there's one side, there's the other side, and then there's the truth somewhere nested in there with all these furloughs and things being shut down. What I don't really get is the fact that people are not concentrating on the continuing resolutions is what seems to be what people on the left are trying to push through, is continue making payments on this government funding stuff that Congress is having a problem with and saying, I don't think we should dump millions of dollars into dance classes for insert name of group in foreign country here and stuff like that. There's a bunch of wild shit in there that they're trying to pull out. And so the result is everyone crosses their arms and says, then we're shutting the government down. And this is shaping up to be the longest one in American history. I think we're at what, 36 days, 35 days, something like that. But the logic behind this is perfectly sound. Let's complain that we don't want any kings and all this overlord, and then immediately en masse start complaining because the EBT and SNAP food stamps benefits may shut down as a result of these continuing resolutions that they're refusing to fund temporarily or at all. Brilliant, guys. You voted for this. Enjoy it.
Yep. And yeah, like you said, the finger pointing is one thing. From what I understand is that the Republicans have brought many articles of solution to get everything reopened, and it is being denied continuously by the Democratic side, holding it up, while at the same time going to the media going, look at what the Republicans are doing to you. Mm-hmm. Now, that being said, I know a lot of people who need this. I am in no way dismissing large groups of people who, single moms or people who need this to feed their kids and to feed themselves. But
it's fun to poke fun at, but like there was a time when my family was on government assistance for a while, so I'm not taking the program for granted. But it's there to be a temporary aid so that you can get back on your feet.
Exactly. And you're not supposed to be on it for a decade. You're not supposed to be on it for 2 decades. You're not even supposed to be on it. It is supposed to be something that lifts you up and gets you into the next position. And then that's it. My mom growing up, when, my sister was, when she was pregnant with my sister and then my sister was born, she was on a heart monitor for the first 8 months of her life. So my mom needed to be around a lot, and it was really hard for her to find babysitters and work. So begrudgingly, she had to get assistance. And back then when I was a kid, it was just called welfare. That's all it was called. But now she did
Welfare
not
turned
like
into
it.
WIC, or maybe they were parallel, and then WIC turned into SNAP,
Right.
and it's the same thing, more or less.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but she hated it. She hated the idea of being tethered to it. She hated the idea of, she found it shameful. And not that I think that people should feel shame for needing help, but my mom specifically was like, I'm an able-bodied person, and I don't need this. It's just a circumstance.
Yeah.
And the minute she could, she got off of it. And so, and that's what it's for. It's for single moms or for people who have disabilities or something to that effect that keeps them from being able to provide for themselves for a short time. Now, I saw a solution to this that I think is great.
Sure.
I think it should be completely wiped out entirely. And then everyone should have to reapply, and then we can actually scrape off all the people, because apparently 48 to 62% of this is people abusing it fraudulently. There are
Correct.
people who are actually taking hundreds and hundreds of dollars of food stamps and making what are known as plates,
Yep, I've seen
which
this.
is they'll sell the food and make tons of money online selling like deliver restaurant food. And they are making tons of money based off of your taxpayer dollars.
I mean, some of
that
the
they are
recipients that I've
exploiting.
seen that are outraging online about this, it is unbearable to watch. It's like, I saw a woman get into like a 2-year-old BMW sports car and like complain about how her benefits are going to get cut and this, that, and the other thing. And it's just like, dude, like, take a look at some self-awareness here. You know, there was another woman that was like, well, you know, I have 6 kids. How do you expect me to get a job? And, you know, I got to watch. And it's like, well, yeah, that's a tough spot to be in, but you kind of put yourself in that spot. No, you know what I mean? Like, that shouldn't be,
Should that
I'm
be
a
the burden
huge-
of other people? Like,
yeah. And I'm a huge
it-
fan of charity. Like, I've worked a bunch.
Uh-huh.
I've run NPOs.
Your
up
dad
until
ran
recently.
a soup kitchen for 25 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we've been
Like, your
involved in
dad-
coat drives. I've managed the books. I've done the drives. we put thousands of dinners out on the street for people that needed it. Like, I
And
get it.
that's the role of the church, obviously, and the church has failed in a lot of ways.
But the state
Not
aid,
entirely.
it's just enabling people to just continue to get these benefits where those are the
Checks and
most,
balances.
those are the most outspoken and, like, you know, vitriolic of the bunch. But the reality is, where we're at with it right now, like today, right now, is that the Supreme Court says they have to fund it to some degree, and they may fund half of it. So that's going to be $4 billion worth of benefits, by the way, at half. Like, that's a ton. So I'm kind of aligned with you on the, like, why don't we just reapply then and have a new criterion on, you know, because people need
Screen out
this,
all the
and
bad
you're
actors.
right, and some of you don't. Like, clearly,
Yeah.
if you're
Clearly.
you know, if you're making a cash business out of selling plates built entirely of tax dollar food stamps, that's egregious. But it's, you know, where there's a system, there's an exploit always. Like, that's to be expected to some degree. The outpouring of vitriol has been absurd by the most vocal people that just on appearance have the least room to breathe in the argument, in my opinion. It's wild.
Yeah. And just the reapplying just to kind of basically, you know, screen for all of these people. Once again, the system needs checks and balances, and we've neglected that through different administrations for so long. But this is basically a way that you could basically apply Doge to this system by just cutting it all off and then going, okay, we're going to set up a couple of areas, you know, all over the country where come reapply.
Yeah.
You can do it online. We can check it out. Like, if you can't make it in, like, whatever, but we'll create a system where you can reapply. And then from that point, then we can evaluate if you're actually eligible for this, and then also create a system that kind of checks in every once in a while. Hey, how you doing? Did you get a job? Do you still need this? What do you know, like, we'd love to keep assisting you until you don't need it. And I would love to find out when that is, like, as a taxpayer, as somebody
Right.
who actually, but, we can't just, that fountain isn't a forever fountain. We don't have, it's just not magic money. We don't have just at our fingertips as much money to throw at this as some people seem to think. Some people seem to think, oh, it's just, you see stuff online like the girls who don't realize that Venmo is real money.
Yeah.
And then they find out that it's actually coming out of their bank accounts, and they're just like, why? And they're breaking down, crying, like, I thought it was different.
Yeah.
And you're like,
I thought these were Apple dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing. And so the people don't realize that well is not self-sustaining. It has to come from somewhere. And once you've tapped that out, it's done. And in fact, it's catastrophic when that happens. So we need to be far more responsible with that. And you may not like it because you're making money off of plates, or you're funding your entire lifestyle so that you can drive around a Beamer and have a nice house and all that stuff, which I don't begrudge you having. Just don't take the food away from people who actually need it.
Correct.
And so
this is the part that where the Democrats are like trying to burn the Republicans on this point. And it's pretty clearly stated. I like the way this is written. It says Democrats sought to force Republicans to extend healthcare insurance subsidies. So there were subsidies that were knocking insurance premiums down, meaning if these expire, the insurance premium goes back to its quoted rate. It doesn't increase. It goes back to where it actually is the whole time without a subsidy. Those are set to expire at the end of the calendar year. So the Republican Party kind of said, let's not bother dealing with this. And to support Senator Cole's clean continuing resolution, additional funding for lawmakers after Charlie Kirk's death delayed the bill's release. So on September 16th, Speaker Johnson released the bill without insurance subsidies, expecting Democrats to balk and cause a shutdown to support the bill that retained the status quo, increasing health insurance premiums for Affordable Care Act recipients and so forth. And they're like, this plus all of the crazy spending you're tacking on in all these other bills needs to be removed before we sign it. And that's where they're coming back on television and saying the Republicans don't want you to have health care.
right.
Not even close. Like, what we don't want is subsidized healthcare insurance subsidies, basically. And it's going to hurt for a little bit, and then everything will balance back out once it goes back to the rates quoted. And then people need to take it out on the insurance companies and say, lower the rates or find a different competitive advantage to drag that back down. This is going back to how it was quoted way back in the Biden era. And they want to continue to fund all these things. So that's the hill they're trying to die on, because they can say, well, the Republican Party doesn't want you to have health insurance. It's not it at all. They're trying to remove the subsidies out of the insurance and let it go back to the quoted rates. That's where it is today. We just don't see it because of the government funded subsidies. So consider the source when you hear information like this, and then go do a little research on who's actually voting for what across each body of government. So that's the part that was kind of killing me, was like, I don't think people understand it has nothing to do with healthcare. It has everything to do with the insurance subsidies that the government's been floating the bill on, plus egregious amounts of spending on radicalized shit that they nest into all these other bills. There's like, here's a bill that's going to give Tony $5 a month. And in that, there's $700 billion of money going to Ukraine. Like, we have to separate these two things. You know what I mean? We have to have Tony over here and Ukraine over there, and we got to figure that out. This is another one of those moves. And so that's the part that I kind of irks me, is everyone's pointing fingers. It's like, well, yeah, government shutdowns are because people point fingers at one another, but this is not without a reckless amount of merit, considering the amount of Doge related activities and furloughs we've seen in the federal government. doing exactly what they campaigned on since day one, and also to the fine folks at Homeland Security that are manning the checkout aisles at your local airport for holiday travel are not getting paid because they're an essential employee. They're required to go to work without pay, which is leading to longer lines and more pissy people because they're all calling in sick and not wanting to work for free. But the good news is when the government reopens, they will get back pay for every hour that they worked on their salary bracket. That's how that works when you're an essential government employee. So you rise and fall and ebb and flow with the people that are running the government, unfortunately. So it's not as if they're not going to get some back pay, but heading into the holidays, this one's tight. And I really hope the Republican Party doesn't crack on all this and allow them to dump egregious funding into radicalized shit. That's what I hope.
Yeah. Otherwise, I would be very cautious with holiday travel. You may get stranded.
Yeah, planning on it. I have to go to Denver for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But I surely hope that there's an impasse to the point that they reopen the government ahead of Thanksgiving, which is now, 3 weeks away, but signs are not pointing up with that regard. So that's the government shutdown as I see it. And I think some of the funded benefits, including SNAP, unfortunately this time, are a byproduct of this being affected for as long as it has, because the people in power, specifically on the left, seem to prioritize their own spending agenda than the people of their constituency that they represent. Because it doesn't look like they're hurting for food or stock trading options. Consider that.
And besides just, the obvious travel issues and stuff like that, I think there's a bigger worry. And I think that, anybody who does any kind of like wargaming on societal collapses will tell you that it is 3 days. 3 days that people can't get food before the metropolitan areas go into full warfare.
Yeah.
The people come out in the streets, you keep people from food for 3 days, and you're going to see in all of the bigger cities and even some of the smaller ones, you're going to see people coming out in the streets and rioting. You're going to be seeing demolition that made the Summer of Love look like nothing.
Right.
And hunger does that to people. And if you keep food from them, that's going to happen. They're already primed for it. They're already itching for that fight anyway. You're just giving them the fuel for it. Mm-hmm. And it is going to get ugly if they do not handle this and basically force the Democrats into submission on this, which I don't know if they even have the voting power or the capability to do that. If they cannot get a wrangle on this, they're going to have a much bigger civil issue on their hands. And
one of
get ugly.
One of the fringe benefits of being the president is in times of a shutdown for emergency privileges, there are some things you can fund. You can just executively order those to be funded. The furlough piece of this is what's interesting, because every Medicare, Medicaid, Transportation Security Administration, National Institute of Health, CDC, and WIC program employee has to work without pay until the shutdown is lifted, and then they all get back pay, because that's what's considered essential as far as what's funded by the government at this point. But I think the longer the Democrats turn their nose up and play games with your future because of their ideology, which that's kind of all this is, the more emergency executive power will be granted to the Trump administration to fund what they deem necessary. So if you can't democratically go in and take care of business and handle things like responsible government employees and do your job, the Republicans will, on a long enough timeline, begin to sign whatever they want, which to me is also not a favorable position, even though I'm a conservative. You know what I mean? Like you kind of don't want that without it being at least discussed in a public forum and scrutinized to some degree. But that's what will
What do you-
eventually happen on a long enough timeline with those
what
executive
they're
orders.
doing is they're forcing in a situation where he will have to make executive orders, which ironically is what a king would do.
Yeah.
So they're forcing his hand to play king role when he does not want to.
Yeah.
And that to me is the irony, is all of this plays right into the hilarity that the No Kings protest was about, and your Democratic leadership is now forcing him to, in order to feed the people, in order to pay the people, make decrees like a king in order to do that. That's wild to me. It is bananas that's where we're at. But that's where we're at.
That's where we're at. Other news. Dick Cheney, he passed away. Problems with pneumonia, and I think
it wasn't a duck hunting accident.
It was not a duck hunting accident. I mean,
yeah.
I have to bring up, I love the Kamala Harris approval rating as the lowest in history as a vice president. It's like, and that includes Dick Cheney, who shot a guy in the face, lest we forget. Dick Cheney passed away. He was one of my very least favorite Republicans in the history of America.
I would say he's in probably my top 5 as well.
Yeah.
So
I not a super huge fan of the Cheneys, particularly Dick Cheney. That said, he's, responsible for one of the largest civil liberties violations in the history of our country, in my opinion. That led to the Homeland Security Act. So,
yeah.
Que sera. I'm not going to dance on his grave. It's unfortunate that an American politician passed away that had a massive amount of influence while and without power as the vice president, by the way, behind the scenes for a long, long time. But what was he, 80? I don't even have the article anymore up. I think I accidentally closed it. 84 years old. Yep. So it's kind of a thing. So
yeah, it was from complications of pneumonia and cardiovascular disease. And like you said, he definitely, early on when the internet was in its infancy and we did not have the, the absolute steady autobahn of information that we now have about every person that walks the face of the planet. We only got our news from the news, the TV news, and what we learned. Like, I will admit, like, during the Bush era, I voted for him. I voted for Bush, and I voted for, the Bush Cheney ticket. Thought he was a good dude, but, since we can now kind of look into, and since not only look into them on the internet, but also with FOIA requests and the revelations of whistleblowers and just history itself, just kind of, looking at it from hindsight, he was not a good man. He was not a good man who did not do good things for our country. Yeah. He put us down a very bad path. He put us in the middle of, we could arguably say that any conflicts that were going on in the Middle East were solely due to him and his ties to Raytheon and other.
Oh yeah, if you follow the money just on the logistics, every like porta potty, every pop up Burger King stand, all these things tie back to Halliburton and all that stuff. That he was the architect of revenue. That's like the modern personification of war profiteering was Dick Cheney, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And like normally I would say, well, here's a moment in time on this pod where we can go through some of the legacy things of a politician in American history that was alive in my lifetime and what the era was. There's nothing positive for me to bring up
Yeah.
Again, I'm not
I
gonna
really wish there
shit
was.
on him, but just there's nothing positive to bring up.
Even from a humanitarian aspect or a family aspect, I really can't even drudge anything up that I would like try to
Yeah.
shine a light on. Not that he didn't, maybe he had a great family, maybe he was
Sure.
very kind in other ways, but in his relation to how he represented himself to the American public, and
Yes.
I did not see him as a success looking at it now. In fact, I think it was quite the opposite. And we had somebody who more or less betrayed. And this isn't just Dick Cheney. This goes for the vast swaths of most people on the federal level of political work. But Dick Cheney is right up there near the top, smoking a cigar, and with a duck hunting shotgun slung over his shoulder. He definitely grew in my mind to be more of a villain in history than anything else. And like you said, I'm not dancing on his grave. Just the same way that I wouldn't dance on Ruth Bader Ginsburg's grave. I disagreed with that woman probably on every aspect of every decision she ever made. However, it is a tragedy to me when people meet their time and they don't, they haven't found Christ, A, and B, that they had a devastating trail behind them that damaged a lot of people. But I will never dance on Dick Cheney's grave. Right. It is sad. It is sad for his family members. But also I'm not going to be painting a skateboard deck about it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Yep.
Like I did with Charlie Kirk.
Worth acknowledging in that my relationship with Dick Cheney was much, much different than I'm sure the people that loved him and cared for him and stuff. But he passed away. So that's another news. Now you wanted to talk about the mayoral candidacy race for New York City. We have Cuomo, an all-star, somebody we highly respect. Wait, I think I got those liner notes wrong. Versus another dude who I can't pronounce his name accurately, so I'll let you give it a shot. That is a out and out public socialist, like full socialist agenda, on and on. Right? That's where we're at with New York.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, his name is Zohran Mamdani.
Mamdani. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And so Zohran Mamdani has been campaigning for the last year, and he's been gaining traction. He's a younger, probably 40s or 50s kind of guy. And the article I pulled up is the Spanish version, so I can't read any of this. But he is admitted, not we're calling him that because of his policies.
He's quite evangelical about the fact that he's
a full-blown communist.
Yeah.
That's what he claims. It's not us putting that on him. It's what he puts on himself. He is a militant Islamist Muslim who has called in the streets for what is it? Intifada? Yeah, well, the killing of anybody who is not of the Muslim faith.
Yeah.
Intifada. And he has called for that in the streets. He is absolutely, at this point, which they all tend to be. There's a theory that people need to really look up. It's a political philosophical theory that is called the Red-Green Alliance, and it is the alliance of the Muslim people being the green and the Communist Party being the red. And the communists think that they are actually in tandem, are working together with, which is why they're always in defense of Muslim countries and Muslims and the Islamist faith, why communists always hold hands with them. and the Islam recognizes this. They actually cultivate it. And by doing so, it's within their faith structure that they are allowed to lie. It is part of the Quran. They are allowed to lie in order to get the furtherment of Islam in political and social circles.
Yeah.
In ways to get power, they're allowed to lie to do it. Now, that being said, we've witnessed this, and we've witnessed it in Minnesota and Michigan and a couple of other places, where they will ride together in tandem, hand in hand. And this is just in the United States. Historically, this has also happened many times. But what they'll do is the communists and the leftists and the progressives will all lift up the Muslim community, and the Muslim community will lift them up too and go, yay, the LGBT stuff and the, pro-abortion stuff and all that. We're all together. We're all kind of this progressive wave. But once they start electing them and they start getting into power, their tune changes, and they go against the communists, and they go, oh, no, we're not for abortion.
Right.
Not only that, we're not going to allow any of the gay stuff in the schools. And you've seen that happen in the or anywhere. Like they just literally, and the communists are left going, what are you talking about? We got you elected. And they're like, yeah, dummies. Anyway, let's wrap this up. We got work to do. You guys are first, actually, on the chopping block. The conservatives are the ones that we really are going to have to fight, but we got to get rid of you guys first because you're useless idiots, and we're going to get rid of you. But they're willing to do that. That's what's going to be happening here in New York. He has played a perfect game to all of the hyper progressives, and they all think that he is the next chosen messiah of New York. And what is super weird about it, there's obviously a major pushback from the Jewish community in New York, which is the biggest Jewish community outside of Israel. Yeah. And predominantly they've had a lot of, they have whole neighborhoods there, and they're like, we're gonna die if you let this guy in power. This is crazy. Like, what are we doing? And so in order to kind of stop the bleeding, essentially, they had to pick somebody that they knew was a viable candidate that might be able to challenge this guy in his run. And who else did they throw up but Mr. Mario Cuomo, the ex-governor of New York. And he is running. And today is the day. We get to find out what happens to New York today. Today is voting day. We get to find out. Now, Cuomo is not anybody's choice. Like, we've all hated this guy. He's should have been up on charges for murdering thousands of people in old folks' homes by putting COVID people in the old folks' homes. He had sexual charges against him. He is exactly the wrong candidate. However, he's, even in that state, he's so much better than Mamdani that it is a bleed stop. It is basically like, we can deal with Cuomo. We can figure him out. This is an unknown, and this is Mamdani's an unknown. He's crazy, and it's going to get so much worse than what Cuomo could ever do. And so even Trump backed Cuomo when Trump was on the trail to put that guy in prison. And that's how...
Doesn't speak too highly of Curtis Silva, who's the Republican guy that's just taking votes away from both of these dudes at the moment. Exit polls are in, but none of the votes have been counted at this point. I'm looking at it, but it looks like Zohran Mamdani is ahead by 10,000 votes, 51.8% of the percentage.
Yeah.
So even if the Republican candidate said vote for Cuomo today instead of me, that still wouldn't be enough to take this guy off in most of the boroughs. He's ahead in every borough: Queens, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Bronx. Scary stuff.
This is dangerous for New York. This is a game changer for New York. This will completely change the landscape of the East Coast because of New York being such a hub, and everyone kind of looks to New York for, what do big cities do, and this will set a ball rolling that the country isn't going to like, and it's going to get real scary. And so, that being said, it is not too dissimilar, but just on a much smaller scale, that we have here in my hometown of Coeur d'Alene. We have a very contentious Coeur d'Alene mayoral race. And so I have spoken probably multiple times on this show alone about my dislike of one of our particular city councilmen, which all of our city councilmen I do not like. We have an absolutely atrocious city council. Now, one of the things that I've also said is that I don't think that real estate agents or real estate developers should be in any way, shape, or form in any type of civic electoral position in the city or in the county, and maybe even the state. So those caveats we'll come back to. I'll put those down. But we have 4 candidates, and we've got one that is truly a Republican, I believe. We have Dan Gookin, who is that city councilman that I have talked poorly about for the last 4 years because of his behavior and some of the things he said. And he's gone after me and my wife personally on numerous things, and has called Christians stupid and all sorts of things. And then you've got Woody McEvers, who is the current mayor, but he was there by appointee because the other one retired, who was a city council member. And he's a 74-year-old, like, burnout pot smoking hippie and he's like barely there. And he's likable, but he is a progressive yes man. He will do whatever they say. And then you've got this dark horse guy who is a local dentist named John Pulsifer. And John Pulsifer is a Mormon, but he's also a rhino. He was for the masks and the shutdowns. He's for higher taxes.
He's for where the wind blows.
Yeah, he's for growth in Coeur d'Alene, which we need to stem pretty quickly, which we've been trying to for a while. But he's gonna be somebody who he does not see things socially the way we do, as far as like how the libraries and the books for kids should be managed, all those kind of things, right? Sure. So the first two, Debbie Loffman, who is the Republican, and him were latecomers to the race. They have no name recognition. They don't have the momentum to win. So neither one of them are going to win, no matter what. That being said, Debbie Loffman got our local KCRCC endorsement. And Debbie Loffman got it because they pushed her into running for this position. She has no idea. And we've actually interviewed her personally. And then also she's been interviewed on multiple different podcasts and such locally. And she doesn't have the first idea of what the job even entails. Yeah. She is blissfully unaware. I don't know. I guess I'll just figure it out and pray about it. And we're like, prayer's great, but you don't know what you're doing. Right. And so the problem
having a clue about the job you're applying for helps.
Right. And she's had this, she just moved here like 2 years ago from California, where she had a real estate business and development business. And so on top of those red flags for me, she hasn't been here. She doesn't know the players. She doesn't know how the city works. She doesn't know the political landscape. She knows nothing of it. And so what we've come to realization is that, yes, character, morality, and even for us, like even a background in being a Christian, not necessarily,
having values,
yeah, and values that match ours is paramount to that job. Absolutely, because I don't believe in nonpartisan races. I believe that every race is a partisan race. You cannot remove your partisanship
Sure.
from any role.
Mhm.
So I think that is a misnomer. I don't
It's
believe
trying
it
to
exists.
legitimize unconscious bias.
Right.
You can't.
So yeah. So that being said, she does not know the job, but what we've come to realize is that the KCRCC, as much good as they've done, I think they've gotten a lot of gimme wins. I don't think that, like the county votes a direction and they take the credit for it, but
Sure.
that's an episode for another time. But what they've done is pushed people into running so that they could just take the seat. You're a really good person. Just go take that
Right.
seat over there so somebody else doesn't. But what ends up happening is a year into their after the election,
Mhm.
They start embarrassing us because they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And I get people to vote for the people on the KCRCC thing, and I go, look, these are all the good candidates. And yeah, they might be a good person, but it's not a Valentine.
Right.
I don't need to vote for a good person, and I need to vote for a person who
A competent person.
a competent person with principles.
Yeah.
They don't need to be nice. I don't care if they're nice. I want them to be actually able to do the job that
Right.
they applied and ran for and spent money doing and had us all knocking on doors for. But at the same time, I do need them to have some type of principled stance with what I want them to do while they're there. So it is not just throw the nice person in the seat and hope everything's okay, because you look like idiots when their ineptitude starts showing.
And this
all of a
happens
sudden
everywhere. When you do the musical chairs approach, like just grab the chair before anything happens, and then
Right.
you cannot micromanage every elected seat if it's part of your pack, and suddenly it makes the one bad apple makes everyone look bad through genuine incompetence, which is
Yes.
unbearable to see.
Yeah, and that's what we would be getting with her. First of all, she doesn't have the momentum to win anyway, but even if she did, and she had the ability to do it, I wouldn't vote for her for all of the red flags that I just said.
Yeah.
So she's not a good, competent person. That being said, the only one on that list that knows the city well, that even though he's been a horrible cuss for last 4 years, has said some pretty stupid things and done stupid things, but he knows the city. He's fiscally conservative. He knows the job. He knows where he's got a plan. He knows where to cut. He's been in that in a city council role for, probably 8 years. And he's got a solid plan. And I've heard it. And as much as I don't like the guy, on a personal level, the dude weirdly has been coming to my church and sitting at second service for 6 months. Now, everyone thinks that we invited him, that Stephanie and me and Aaron or Pastor Paul invited him to come because we're like blotting on the city. We're like, no. In fact, we were all like, what is he doing here? The minute he started showing up, no one talked to him. He sat by himself. Then he left out the side door. Everyone's like, oh, he's doing it for political reasons. He's trying to get you all guys all to vote for him. And we're like, none of us are. We're all kind of like, why is he here? But he kept coming. Knowing half that congregation hated him and was staring at him the entire time. He'd show up. He wouldn't shake any hands, kiss any babies. He wouldn't try to talk to Paul, get in anybody's ear. He'd sit down, open up his Bible. And later on, I had a conversation with him, and it turned out, he goes, no, I was coming for a gotcha moment. Everyone told me how horrible you guys were. I wanted to go in there and see for myself so that I could go do a video on you guys and how horrible you were. But you weren't. And everything that Paul was teaching was great. So I kept coming back. And we're like, well, what about your wife? And he goes, that's complicated. She's Lutheran. She's on this Lutheran security, church security team. And he goes, okay. And we're like, all right, well, dude, it still looks really suspicious. So, but we're not going to try to get in the way of your walk. Like, if God's working in your life, we're not going to get in the way of that. And Paul was really put into a weird situation where he's starting to get heat, and like people go, why are you letting him go to your church? And he goes, I'm not letting anybody go to the church. They just come. I can't tell him he can't come to the church. That's crazy. And they're just like, well, he's an evil man. You shouldn't let him in there. He goes, then none of us should be in there. We're all evil men. So that's nuts that you would even say that. And so he's come for 6 months in a row. Not once has he never missed a Sunday, and he's never shaking a hand. Now, Stephanie ended up saying, why don't you sit by me? Like, I know this is uncomfortable for you, but you can sit with my family. You know, like, I don't hate you. I think that you've said dumb stuff. I think that you've been mean to people and have done some pretty horrible things. But I don't hate you. So if you want someone to sit by, you can sit by my family. Now, Stephanie has been now blamed for cultivating this relationship and making him, you know.
Yeah, you can't do anything right in politics.
No.
Yeah.
No. So now, you know, we're looking at this race, and Erin on her page is like, we got no one to vote for this. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? And she goes, and they're all going after Gookin, and we're like, hey, listen, he's actually, out of the shit sandwich that we have, he's the best bite of a shit sandwich. Like, we can't look at the numbers. Like, he was somebody who helped. He was the only vote against mandates and masks during COVID. He was on our side for that. He's fiscally conservative. On top of that, he helped get the Charlie Kirk thing through. He helped get the Trad Fam thing through. He's willing to work with us if we would just lower our swords a little bit. Now, yeah, he said some dumb stuff. Yeah, he's been vitriolic. But guess what? I would rather see someone who can competently and work with us, be willing to. He may not do everything we like, but Debbie's not going to be able to do anything.
Right.
Woody's going to do nothing that we want, and he's going to do everything that the leftists want. And John Pulsifer is just going to tax you to death and then build up around you while he makes fun of you. Like, this is your best option. It's not great. I agree. I don't think Dan Gookin's, you know,
the
best
lesser
option.
of the four evils or what have you. But also,
Right.
like, who's putting the screws to the KCRCC for not developing a bench where they can confidently stand behind a candidate early in the race and often? Like, that's, to me, where this pack is failing your constituency.
That is exactly the argument Aaron's been making for weeks now and taking massive amounts of heat, because if you go at all against the KCRCC, they will go full throttle. They're doxing Stephanie right now. They're going after us hard. And so, like, the social media battles that have been going on over the last week have been insane because of them. And it's just because that's the question we asked. That's the question Aaron has been posting. Why is it that you can't provide us with a good candidate? Why aren't they coming? We got plenty of people. But
why are we left with a shit sandwich when we could have developed something entirely different early and often?
And it's not like this was a surprise, like you didn't have time. It's not like you didn't see that the fact that Coeur d'Alene is the hub for the whole county. What goes in Coeur d'Alene goes for the rest of the county. We know that's the seat of power. We know that they control the arts, the college, all of the other things that you guys are always griping on and on about, which is valid. But the only way that we can do that is by changing that city council. And you have failed 3 elections in a row to change even 1 seat on the city council, because you've been pitching bad, because they have a rating and vetting system. Well, the rating and vetting system has proven to be
clearly not working.
Clearly not working and full of holes. And so, and they're being mocked for it. And their pride will not let them release the reins of power, let anybody who could do the job better, because at this point they become such an embarrassment that people are afraid to attach their names to it. We got a guy, Doc Larson, who is running for city council, And he's a great dude. He's a great candidate, but he did not want their endorsement because of the fact that it is literally a poison
Bad
dart.
press. Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I saw the writing on the wall. When was I up there? 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
And I was like, you guys need to come up with your own PAC. You need to grassroots it. You need to have full financial transparency. You have to have all of your NPO documentation in order. And you've got to develop everywhere that you have youth outreach stuff, community outreach stuff, plans of action, charitable services. I mean, really build something that you can develop more than a rating system, but an actual grind of people that can go through. And I'm not saying an indoctrination program, but you've got to have enough like-minded people to come up with what's best for the community. And most of them should be locals. They shouldn't have career interests in development. They shouldn't have career interests in, like business development, home building, any of the things that this would require city dependence or city funding or finance for, and try to dethrone them through public opinion. But yeah, they are right to be criticized that they cannot, in 3 failed elections in a row, come up with their own in-house candidate that they can confidently stand behind. That is the purpose of their existence, is it not?
What they claim the purpose of their existence. It's literally their motto. Like when you go, why aren't you doing all these other things? They're like, our only objective is to get people elected. That is the only thing that we do. And whenever we push it back on them, they say that to us. Yeah. And so, well,
like, well, your track record's 0-3, boss. So maybe change that motto.
Yeah, a lot of the other things,
wishful thinking and banter. Like, I mean,
yeah, I mean, a lot. Like, I would love to support this group. Sure. We did for years. You know that. You know that as well as anybody else. That we were rallying troops for them. I had cards in my station that were all of their rack cards for all of their people, and I would talk to everybody. KCRCC. We went to all their meetings, everything, and I've been completely disillusioned over the course of the last probably 2 years since the whole Groyper thing and the way that they treated us. And then on top of that, just now looking at them through the lens of time and going, you're really not getting the wins you're claiming. Right. The county is, but those people would have won whether or not you were involved or not with all the legislative races. If they're not downtown Coeur d'Alene,
if your candidate that's a good guy, that's firm handshakes all around, that's refusing the endorsement of the KCRCC on principle that it's a poison pill, there's strange things afoot at the Circle K, friends. We need to have a radical change of infrastructure, do we not? Like, I mean,
there's a lot of things that they could do better on sure. So many different levels. They don't have an outreach program, a community outreach program. They have no PR. They don't ingratiate themselves. They should be doing stuff to better their name within the community. They don't do that. They don't have a program where they teach people Robert's Rules of Orders and how to actually do the job that they're pushing them to do, that they're promoting them to do. There should be a boot camp for them in that. And then there should also be a subcommittee that basically says, hey, this is your first or maybe even second term. You don't know when you get yourself into a snafu what to do. We have a council for that. We have people who've been elected officials for a long time, and they've all been a part of the KCRCC. They can give you some advice on how to navigate the sticky situations. They don't have, once you've been elected, they're hands off and they're left out to dry to the public scrutiny and get completely mauled.
Yeah, it's a farm, not a pack. It's a farm.
Right. And so on top of that, they don't have there's 70 72 to 75 different taxing district meetings within the county, whether it be Hayden City Council or school board meetings or health board meetings or whatever the case may be. There are 73, maybe 74 committeemen because there's 74 precincts in the county. They don't go to any of the meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it should be required that there's 2 KCRC meetings a month. The regular one where you go over policy and different events coming up and all those things and where to spend the money. But there should be an update report meeting where you delegate each one of your sitting PCs, elected PCs, to go to one meeting at least, maybe 2 if you've got the time. And they come back and they report, this is what they're doing in this office. This is what they're doing in this office. What should we do about that? What should, what strategy should we take? Keep them all appraised of actually what's going on in their community, because they have no idea. They rely on Aaron. They rely on people who do social media news because that's all they got. They live in bubbles and they don't understand what's going on in their community. They're tone deaf.
I mean,
they are.
It reinforces my argument like that there ought to be an alternative of the people. Even if it fails, at least it illustrates a more broad point where it's not just the people close to it that are seeing these failures. So we don't yield shit sandwich decisions going forward, because this is just the beginning. What will be born of the shit sandwich folks on the next term?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And policy begats policy, unfortunately, goes the laws and rules of politics. So ensuring that you don't have decades of wires to untangle, it might be worth taking community action a little more seriously, but it's unfortunate they're not hearing you out. So,
well, they're too busy trying to sneak in these, for lack of a better term, white nationalist guys, and try to get them into different PC seats and trying to get them in different elected positions.
So there's sounds like the leadership there is a cancer, dude.
It is a cancer, absolutely, and so
that's the very last type of candidate you want to sneak into anywhere.
Right, but that's the ones that they're pushing. And so I don't think Debbie Loffman is. She's obviously not, but she's a very manipulated, like easily manipulated.
Yeah. She's very unburdened by what has been.
Yeah, it's very soft. Easy to manipulate candidate that they can steer in whatever direction they want. They recognize that out of the gate. Very nice lady. I'm not taking that away from her. She's very sweet, but her interviews were embarrassing. And that's their girl. That's the one they're stumping for. But she would literally say, I don't know. I should probably ask my husband about like the most basic of questions. And she embarrassed herself numerous times.
Bring him up to the debate, see if he's got anything on it.
Shoot. Right. But like they would do
family
forums,
affair. That would be great. Idaho local politics ran by Family Feud. And they all just guess, and then they look at the board. It's a law. It is a law. You win. That'd be awesome.
Oh man, that would be great. But yeah, that's what they're throwing at us. And like the last cycle, it was a bunch of like ho hum, like hard to get behind, like kind of bad picks.
Yeah.
And when other people have stepped up to say, hey, I'd like to run. In fact, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. That leadership, one lady in particular, but by being told by the head guy, gets told, make the phone call. And she makes the phone call. And this has happened many times where they're like, hey, we need you to drop out because we don't want to, we picked our person. So we don't want you to split the race. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, okay, thinking that these guys are benevolent people that aren't just trying to pull the levers of power. But there's people who are like, but I'd be a better pick for that. And they're like, you better not. And then they run independently and they end up doing better than their
Where have we seen this before? Hey, Biden, you shouldn't run again. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Yikes. Here's what I'll say. in closing on this, I hope for your sake that this candidate really is going through a strong change of heart on the former animus that he held for your guys's sect of the political party, in that he's now had 6 months to observe whether you're full of shit or putting on a show. He's at least being talked to by members of the congregation where you're at that are close to you. He's willing to have a conversation with you and hear you out about no one hates you. It's just the dumb shit you've said is not great. And here we are. And if he does end up winning, which it sounds like he's at least a stronger candidate than what they're promoting from the KCRCC in other areas, the incumbent needs to go for sure. But my hope is that this is an awesome turnaround story and a change of heart, which is unusual for politics anywhere. And I still have a lot of skeptical thoughts about somebody making such a change 6 months before an election.
Agreed. We actually discussed it, and we're like, the real test is if you continue to come to Candlelight after the election.
Right, exactly right.
You know, and for the record, I did not vote for him. I voted today. I did not vote for Dan Gookin. I did not vote for any. I left it blank. And I did that out of principle because I had said in the past that I would not vote for him for mayor. And he has not yet crossed the threshold for me to actually. But do I begrudge anybody who held their nose and through closed eyes and gritted teeth voted for him anyway because he was the best option out of three bad options?
Surveilling all the facts, probably not.
Right. Yeah. And so I will never give anybody grief for that. Like, if you voted for Dan Gookin, I won't give you grief for it. But if you didn't out of principle, I also won't give you grief for it. Now, does that mean not casting a ballot for Dan Gookin is basically casting a ballot for Woody? Kind of, yeah. I don't know if the math will work out that way. I do think that he has a strong enough support base, but it's going to be neck and neck between those two. The other two will fall distantly behind. Probably Pulsiver in the very far back. Debbie Laughlin will get the KCRCC loyalists who don't care that she's not good at the job or doesn't have the ability to do the job. It's just because the KCRCC said to put her in place. That's the only thing that really matters to them. So,
well, you'll be surprised to know that during this podcast, there has been some poll manipulation going on in your town as we speak. And it turns out the people are starting to put in their own write-in candidate. And it is shaping up that your wife is going to be the mayor of Coeur d'Alene, it's looking like. Oh, man. Her name how many is people skyrocketing through the charts. I have nothing to do with this in a computer, by the way. No, I'm kidding. No, I mean, I know that your family is down there working right now at the voting booths and keeping the integrity, and I surely hope that it is the best possible outcome for Coeur d'Alene as it goes. Keep us posted. Obviously, this will have been closed, and we'll have an answer by the next time we pod, it sounds like, for this race. Yeah. So part two is still to come, but yeah.
We'll have results hopefully by midnight.
I sure hope that people can shake some sense into the KCRC or provide the people an alternative, because they ought to be building a bench for future generations, and they are doing everything but. And that is a critical failure of a majority PAC in your area. It is elitism and gatekeeping in a party that should have neither. Well, they're treating it like a popularity contest, even with the way they're responding to, like. There should be some discernment. There should be some discernment and definitely gatekeeping to a degree where we don't allow rhinos in. We don't allow, gripers in, which are rhinos. Can you get a hold? I mean, this might be pushing the envelope a little. Can you get a hold of what their criterion is for vetting a candidate, top to bottom, the score sheet? Yeah, I can. Maybe we'll take that one offline. I'd love to go through it.
Okay. Yeah. I'll talk to Aaron about it.
Even if it's just me and off the pod, I
know,
definitely want to see it and be like,
we
okay.
do know a lot of people who are on the rating and vetting committee.
And that's
which
kind of
is
why
we jokingly call it the rating committee because there's no vetting.
Yeah.
It's just like, do you like this guy? Yeah, me too.
All it takes to be a war boy is a shaved head and some silver spray paint, right? So
witness me. But yeah, it's essentially that. Like I hate to break it down to such crass kind of like content, but that's the reality of it. Is that's exactly what's going on. There's one lady who is notorious, and she is one of the old boomer ladies, and she's used to be a friend, but now she absolutely detests Aaron and I because we aren't, marching along.
Sure.
But her only question at all, she thought it was the end-all question. Did you vote for Donald Trump? Yep. And then they would go, yeah.
Yeah, sounds
and she'd
good
be
to
like,
me.
Good enough for me. Yep. This one's a good one.
Send 'em.
And you're like, what?
SNAP benefits approved.
But none of the people on this committee have the ability to kind of even scrutinize scrutinize social media. Like they don't know how to do social media digging, and that's the lowest form of vetting, is being able to have somebody who can actually dig through social media, find stuff from their past, find weird connections, being able to do that, but they don't have anyone who can. Like, they think that they're good at that. They are not. And then on top of that, there should be a background check on these people, like a legitimate actual background check.
There's no criminal background check or anything?
For a DUI after, and you got in a fight with your brother, and
there's no criminal background check?
No.
Oh my.
Yeah, so many of them have slipped through. Like, we had one guy running for
Genesis, isn't it? Isn't that like vetting 101? You start with criminal background?
Right.
Oh, embezzlement. That's bad.
Yeah, it costs money. They've actually had it a couple of times where a guy didn't pay all of his taxes and ended up going to prison after he got elected. There was another dude that ran last time that had, like, they may have been false, but he had past rape charges. Jeez. And there was another guy who ran just recently too, who had a really bad domestic violence assault put on him, and it was 15 years old. But the problem is that you have to get ahead of that, and they didn't.
Right.
They didn't even know what happened. And so what ends up happening is that all of the left starts digging up all the dirt. They don't
comes up in a debate like, oh,
right. They don't care how old it is. They're like, who cares? He was 15 years old. Him and his wife are fine now. True, but the other side doesn't care, and they're the ones speaking to the community. And so what you now have is now you're on the defense to the community that now has to go, wait, I don't want somebody who beats their wife to be part of city council. That's crazy. And they go, but we've gone to therapy. Like all the charges got dropped. Everything's fine. You're on the defense. Right. You're looking bad. And that's what they don't get. They don't understand this type of they don't understand the internet and its implications and how to find stuff. They don't understand this. And so they're working a paper war in a digital war field, and they just don't understand. And so, it's will not be changed until leadership changes, because they hold all the reins on all of the money and all of the different subcommittees and so there's nothing anybody can do. Like, you are tied to this group of about 7 individuals that run the entire committee, and then pretend that we don't run it. We're just facilitators.
Sure.
We just facilitate everybody. But then you hear about all the side chat groups, and that they're actually the ones putting everybody into all of the committees and all the places, and there's secret subcommittees and all these, they just will not let go.
You need a new pack, dude.
Yep. So that I think is the only solution. But yeah, so that's what's going on in our elections, and I think that New York hopefully survives what's coming, and I hope Coeur d'Alene survives what's coming.
Wow.
So,
well,
uh,
it's tinfoil hat time. We can really say stuff off the books now.
Yes, we can.
You've got a good one this week.
I do. And I thought we'd change gears a little bit and just have a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes these conspiracy theories tend to get a little dark.
Yeah.
And a little too close to home, a little too political. And so this one is a kind of a fun one. And I think that I saw this movie, and it's a documentary, and it came out in 2010. And I think I saw it shortly after it came out. And it has haunted me ever since. I have a painting in my station that a friend did for me that is based off of a conversation that we had about this documentary, and me like tattooing and just going, and it is based off of the theory. The movie, the documentary is called Paul McCartney Really Is Dead.
Really
the
is
Last
dead.
Testament.
Yeah.
The Last Testament of George Harrison. Now,
these are Beatles, if you don't know.
Right.
Oh.
So this is about Paul McCartney from the Beatles, and the fact that this documentary, and this is a conspiracy theory that has lived beyond and before this documentary. This documentary just kind of collected on it because of some recordings revealed by George Harrison after he got stabbed in his castle. But the theory is that in 1966, the Beatles were at the top of their fame. They were. It was right before they went all kind of hippie. They were still kind of beatniky, and like were just crossing over into what they ended up becoming. But in 1966, Paul McCartney got, and this is true, this is a documented situation. Paul McCartney got into a major car wreck, and nobody knew what happened. Like the news didn't know what was going on. There was conflicting reports. Everything started getting all crazy on the news. And then they said he's fine, and they left it at that. But everyone was like, "What do you mean he's fine?" At the same time, the Ed Sullivan Show had and some of the older folks may remember this. Had a Paul McCartney lookalike contest on the show, and a whole bunch of guys came out that looked like Paul McCartney and sang like him, and they never announced a winner for that show. And so the idea is
Charlie Chaplin once took third place in a Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest.
That is actually true. So, alleging that the English musician Paul McCartney of the Beatles died in 1966 and was secretly replaced by a lookalike. The rumor began circulating in 1966, gaining broad popularity in September 1969 following reports on American college campuses. So, according to the theory, McCartney died in the crash. And to spare the public from grief, the surviving Beatles, aided by Britain's MI5, replaced him with a McCartney lookalike, subsequently communicating this secret through subtle details of their albums. Proponents perceived clues among elements of Beatles songs and cover artwork. Clue hunting proved infectious, and by October 1969 had become an international phenomenon. Rumors declined after Life published an interview with McCartney in November 1969. Now, I watched this documentary, and there was they went through all those different clues and everything, but one of the reasons why they kind of went into why would the British government do this? Why would they hide the death of this guy? And it's because of the fact that they were so high in popularity at that point that the English economy was actually tethered to Beatlemania. Like it needed the Beatles to exist in order for them not to go through an economic downturn. They also said that they could not handle the overwhelming wave of female suicides that this would have caused. And they were like, we just can't do it. We have to replace it. So, you know, according to the theory, they all met and then they got this guy and they brought him in. And the name of the guy, they have his name. I can't remember what his name is. But they know his name, but they call him Fake Paul. And from that point on, every album, Paul faces the other way than the rest of the group. He's the only one not wearing shoes. He's on Sgt. Pepper's. They like all of the clues that they tried to tell the public that Paul McCartney. So then they started doing like analysis on his facial features and his height. His height is different. His ears are lower. His jawline is different. All of these different things. He sings differently. He plays differently. The rest of the band didn't want to have anything to do with him because he wasn't their friend from high school. So one thing after the other, they just layer on like one, and it's kind of a remarkable story that this guy who to this day has been knighted and lives in a castle in England and is still alive.
Comes out, played with the Foo Fighters when they did their big thing in Wembley.
This guy may have just taken over the life of the actual Paul McCartney and just lived out the rest of his days being somebody he never was. And so this theory just goes, you can dig into it. Like there's a whole Wikipedia page about it. There's many websites. There is obviously that documentary, which is fascinating because it starts off with the recordings from George Harrison laying in bed, basically saying, I have to get this off my chest. They're trying to kill me because I said I was going to come out with the truth, and that's what was sent into my house, is somebody to stab me. And he makes all these recordings about telling the story of how Paul McCartney was replaced in the Beatles. And now the validity of those tapes are in question. Some people say that they're real, some people say that they're not. It is what it is. It's fun to play around in these, but they also say that John Lennon was about to come out with the truth and was about to tell the truth, which is why he had moved to New York so that he would be safe. And that this guy from Hawaii, the Chapman guy, never even had any ties to the Beatles, flew to New York twice. Once he shows up and had been out in front of John Lennon's building on camera, then flew back and then shot him outside of his building. And still to this day, no one's spoken to him. They put him in a deep, dark dungeon hole. Like, you get to interview every serial killer that ever crosses, but
getting book deals.
Not that guy.
Yeah,
not that guy. No one's interviewed him ever. And they're just like, why not? Why can't we talk to the Chapman dude? Why can't we find out why he shot John Lennon? And the part of the conspiracy is that he was sent to assassinate him. Look,
we explore a lot of conspiracy theories, all of which to date we have shot down. We know how salacious stories and rabid fans can go on trails to see what they need to see and believe what they want to believe. I'm in. I think he's fake. I'm just going to buy in. That's it. Why can't we talk to the guy? Of course, those are George Harrison's tapes. The man got stabbed. Why would someone stab a Beatle? Like, what, you can lose George and not worry about mass female suicide and the collapse of the British economy?
How did he get past the security at a castle at George Harrison's house?
Yeah, and what's up with the no shoes? It's definitive.
Yeah.
I kind of like this one. Like, the logic in me says no, but like, if we could corroborate that MI5 was involved in some way to manage PR, I'm all in. Like if I could get that nugget that says, no, yeah, they totally talked about this for any reason, even if McCartney is recovering in the hospital, like, but there might have been a chance, I'm in. I don't trust any of them dudes.
I think we're gonna get Jimmy Savile on this. I think that Paul McCartney will have to die, and then all of a sudden, all of the reports will come out that he wasn't the real Paul McCartney. Like Jimmy Savile, everyone knew what a horrible monster he was, and he was as famous as Paul McCartney in England.
Yeah,
and so like,
chat's talking. They say. Paul Osby, this is a trip of a conspiracy corner. Just went down the rabbit hole on this topic on Reddit while listening to you guys. Yeah, this one's fun. Yeah. This one's super fun.
Yeah, it's true. And so, but yeah, the thing is that like if they could hide until his death, Jimmy Savile's crazy monstrous like goings-ons and past and everything. Yeah. He'd been doing it for decades.
How much easier would this have been back then to pull off successfully compared to now? Much easier.
Much easier. Yeah. So, yep.
I'm in.
And there's even stuff about like his hair being in front of his face. By the way, they never toured again. That was their last performance.
That's a key component of this. That was the last public tour they did, during this period. Yeah.
Yep. So after that crash, they never toured again. And so, but then also like some of the photos, like the hair was in front of his face because they were saying he was getting plastic surgery and had to hide it in certain photos. There was.
I don't think they were that good back then at that craft as maybe they are now, but. I believe it. If they were trying to obfuscate that in some respect, like, could you imagine if the American government approached you and said, "Hey, man, can you keep a secret?" Yeah, great. We're gonna give you same fortune and money. You just got to pretend that you're this guy the whole time. Learn up on the backstory. This is where you went to school and shit. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, if he's already doing stuff like. He went to a lookalike contest.
Right. Yeah.
So like he already knew he looked similar, that he could sound similar. He was kind of like they had to train him because he wasn't part of the same part of England. So he wasn't from Liverpool. So he didn't have the Liverpool accent. Like they had to train him. And so, but yeah, there was so many other it's a fascinating documentary.
I would apologize to our listeners for your attempt at a Liverpool accent, but nothing. We can't be held liable for what we say while these hats are on, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's. I
want to buy in on this one, dude. I think this is at least the most feasible one we've done. That's like totally. I could absolutely see this occurring.
It's manageable. It's doable. Yeah.
Is it likely?
Good information behind it.
Maybe not, but if they were that concerned about it, possibly. I mean, it's possible for sure. Likely, who knows? But I want to buy in on this one.
Yeah,
I'm buying an apartment on McCartney Island for this conspiracy corner. We're gonna see. We're gonna see where it goes. Well,
I'm all in.
That's so. Two ends. That's been Conspiracy Corner for this week. Encourage you guys to have fun, play along. Let us know if there's a conspiracy you'd like us to look into as well.
Yeah, I need more ideas, people. Send me some ideas. I'd love to kind of explore some more kind of out there stuff on Conspiracy Corner. So if you have a topic that you want me to tackle and I can go in multiple different directions, just throw some comments in. Throw some comments on our Facebook page, on our Twitter page, on the comments in YouTube. Just send us a message and I'll explore it for next week.
Well, this is going to be fun. I've been waiting for this for 6 months, dude. We're going to talk about a mutual friend of ours wrote a movie script, and
yes, he did.
It is more possible now that this can get created into a movie than even when he wrote it a few months ago. So we're not going to give away too much because I didn't ask permission to do this and probably should have, but I did want you to read it because there's a few points. One, it's subject matter that you would enjoy this time of year, like heading into the month of October. It is somebody that you know, and it's, I thought, an extraordinarily original take on some familiar tropes, which there are many familiar tropes nested in this dialogue, about a movie script that our buddy wrote, and I'm really excited. You read it today. What did you think? Garage Sale Demon, what'd you think?
Garage Sale Demon. Yeah. So kudos first and foremost to our buddy Dan, who been a dear friend for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So for me, at least, you longer. And there's very few people on the planet that I could say encompass a kindness matched only by a witty intelligence that you can get from a man like Dan. He is a phenomenal human being through and through. So I was blessed by being able to read the inner workings and thoughts of a man who is creative by nature and created something that fits a genre that I already enjoy. So it was a pleasure to read.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty critical. I will be somebody who doesn't just give a pass because I know the guy.
Same.
You can ask my wife if it's something that I'm diplomatic when I give you bad news about the thing you made.
Right.
And but I will not shy away from it. I will tell you the truth. And so when I read this, I was I wouldn't say skeptical. I kind of had faith in him, but at the same time, I've read scripts in the past from friends that thought that they could write, but couldn't very well.
And I think it's fair to point out, this is a guy that had the majority of his professional career in television in some fashion, producing television programs, either for cable news that was syndicated news channels or working for public access channels, creating different shows, marketing those shows. But his dream has always been to produce films, and he wants to direct one day, but absolutely to be a screenwriter. Went to school for it, lots of stuff. And finally, because he's been tossing ideas back and forth with me for decades. And I kind of got on his ass and I was like, dude, you're the most creative person I know with dialogue and the written word, bar none. I have you for artwork, him for dialogue and word. Fucking put it out. What's the worst gonna happen? Write it. Just write it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, trust me, you may not think you have the confidence, just do it. And I pushed and pushed and pushed. And this is iteration 4,
so glad
but
you did.
he finally came out with this. So
I'm so glad you pushed him to do this.
Yeah.
And because it was worth it. Now I'm going to have a hard time explaining my thoughts on this without giving anything away, which I will do my best to not give anything away.
We talk about characters, their concepts, and
right.
if they were developed and all the whole nine. Yeah, go for it.
Absolutely. So, essentially what he gave us is what felt to me like the best part of late 90s horror cinema, where they realized that you could inject character development within even the substructure of the creatures or the monsters or the ghosts or whatever, right? And that you could tell a story that ping-ponged you through different characters that you could not really tell which one of them at any given point was going to be the hero's arc, or and made you like the bad guy, were attached to him in some way, or
the big bad takes on a brand new cadence in your mind when he has relatable traits, or he's funny, or he's witty, or
Yeah, and I love that aspect of it, and it had elements of the comedic timing and the structure of how he described the scenes and the people and the characters. It gave me such Idle Hands vibes. Remember Idle Hands?
Yeah.
Do you remember or something to that effect? Less comedic, a little bit more serious, but not as goofy, let me put it that way,
Yeah.
but with a sharp, edge to it. There was, I was feeling notes of even influence of Supernatural or the television show or like The Craft. And like, I was like, every time there was just, it was soaked in
there's
these
so many
genres.
like vibrations of tropes and things that are recognizable, but it wasn't a direct copy or play off of anything.
Exactly.
And that's where I found the originality was perfect, because it had plenty of brutality in it that I was like, oh, but it also had plenty of comedy in it without being satirical of itself and things like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the most original thing I've ever read in as far as movies are concerned. Like probably ever, but definitely in a long time.
He's really good at the pacing. The scenery changes were like in my head. I was like, okay, that'd be visually appealing. I hate when they're just all at a graveyard forever. Or they're all, or like they're in one
45% of the movie takes place in the apartment.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Like, and that can be done well if the dialogue is really like it's almost a play, like a play that can be done really well. But when you're doing this type of writing, I want to see different like interactions with this character and this character in different like interesting settings, and he does that to perfection. And like there are even elements of like Terminator 2 in this that I felt were great. There was like so many kind of like flavors of that era that he knows that he's soaked in, and used all of the best advantages of all of those kind of subgenres of that era and blended them up and put his own twist and his own. I could hear his voice in his writing. And that was something. Knowing him, I'm going, oh, I know how you meant that. I know the tone you wanted this to take. But if this gets made into a movie, I cannot wait. And I will be at the premiere of this movie because it is.
This is a situation where like my first thought was, wow. My second thought, because I went into the kitchen, I made a coffee, and my second thought was, oh, you can shoot this movie for cheap. Like if you look at the scenes and stuff, it's like, okay, cool. We have someone's house, an apartment. We have a van outside. There's a casino scene in a bathroom. These are all easily low budget shootable moments in a film. Like this is an attainable movie and it's good. Like
the special effects would be basically costuming and makeup for one major character, but then like some maybe like horror stuff for a couple of the others, and then some digital effects, but not a ton. The writing was so well that it didn't need to be propped up by effects.
That's the part where I started getting really excited, where I was like, I think you can shoot this. Like, I think I could shoot this. Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was not surprisingly wonderful. Like I was not shocked at I was happy that I wasn't wrong about his ability to write. Like in my head, where sometimes when a friend of mine goes, oh, look at what I wrote. And then I read it and I'm like,
you're right.
You should keep working at Taco Bell. Like, and this was obviously not the case. Like in this capacity, if this doesn't get picked up, I'd be surprised. And he should pitch it to all of the major studios.
He's
obviously
I think he's in a position personally where like optioning this would be awesome, but getting the funding and financing to shoot it would be the best. Like, I think this is his Clerks, so to speak, and I think to me that would be the perfect ending to this. And there's a few things in the works that when I get clearance to talk about, I will tell everybody on the show where he's at with it. But I thought scenes awesome, pacing excellent, characters excellent, dialogue great. Like probably could use a few more ideations here and there on some conversational bits, but the rapid response between the main antagonist and one of the multi-protagonists in the film are excellent all the way through. You know,
Yeah.
and then kind of getting to know the main antagonist, where you're like, oh man, I really, really like this character, this creature. Like this, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Um,
And there's so much room for development with it too. He really kept that door open.
it's a great piece of
the-
work. Yeah.
And I'm not going to give it away, but the post-credit scene
Yeah. Yeah.
is hilarious.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
I was waiting for you to touch on that, because to me, I read that in the most 1990s reading Rainbow Overture narration set when I read that scene, and I was like, oh my god, this is great. So yeah, hopefully we'll get clearance to share a little bit more, because I don't know who has seen this and where it's at in some development pieces. He did allow me to let you send it to you and read it a few months ago and stuff. And I said, we're probably going to talk about it at some point. And he's like, yeah, right on. But I went from encouraged to excited when he actually was like, no, dude, I put down like 90 pages. I'm working on it. I'm like working on it. And I was like, are you serious?
God.
And he's like, yeah. And then he sent me the first draft, and I was like, we got to round off some of these corners, but this is insane. Keep going.
Yeah.
You know, and I think you have version 4. I think there's one or maybe two more that are lightly polished from there. But because there was some stuff he took out of the first couple, but ultimately, what a great piece of work. I'm really excited for my friend, and I thought you'd enjoy it during Halloween month. It's a horror movie.
And he did a really good job
good
of creating like the proper structure where there's 3 acts.
Yes.
You know, and you almost get 3 different kind of tones and movements within those 3 acts, and I really appreciated the structure of it, because there is, not that you want to be formulaic, but there is a particular pacing formula that keeps the person involved. It keeps, and I was very attentive to that detail to make sure that it wasn't just kind of like a drudgery kind of going off into one direction, right?
Well,
that
even
he had that structure, and the structure was solid.
I felt like he wrote parts of those between scene 1 and 2 directly at me, knowing that I was the principal audience in the early moments of this thing. I truly feel he wrote stuff in there directed at me, because there's a point or two in there where he'll break the fourth wall in the narration and say, and because this is my movie, that's the way it is. Like, that's why I want it this way. Expecting me to come back with like, bro, really? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that was for everybody, but it felt like it was pointed at me, because we had so many conversations about this material up to this point that I was like, this is so good, dude. Like, this is so good.
Really
so
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, when we can talk about more of it, I'd love to talk about more details, and we'll explore that. I just need, obviously, his permission, because I don't know where it's at with other eyeballs and stuff, but I knew you'd get a kick out of it. I'm glad you got a chance to read it before tonight, and it was a good time. So
yeah, it was. So are you ready for the Overlord tip of the week?
it's time. I need to learn how to be the best evil overlord I possibly can be. It's tip number 6 for the Modern Relics podcast. Lucky's going to tell you exactly how you can prepare yourself for evil overlordship going forward.
So, if you have an enemy, a particular adversary of your growing regime, of your growing power struggle, and you've got, your biggest antagonist for your utopian future that you're obviously plotting and planning out.
I can see the vision. Sure.
Right? So now, if you capture the person who's trying to thwart your plans, what is the proper procedure of dealing with said guy? Are you afraid of martyrdom? Are you afraid of a call to action due to his untimely death, or whatever the case may be?
Someone else may pick the sword up in his stead. Yeah.
Right. what is your emotional state? Like, how do you properly handle dealing with this individual? Now, I, for one, I will not gloat over my enemy's predicament before killing them. I am not going to lord over them and say, my plans are going to work and yours are not.
Right.
Ha 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 ha. You know, I'm not going to reveal my plans. I'm not going to tell them, you know, that this is the plan I have for their demise, that I'm going to, you know, this is how it's all going to work out and let you know all that. I'm not going to gloat over you. I'm not going to laugh in your face.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you that amount of emotional attention. I don't care. You're an obstacle to what I have planned, and you are this big. It's time to go. And I will not gloat before killing you.
Yeah.
Like, that is how it's like. It is it's efficiency.
Yeah.
It is literally just trying to eliminate every problem that comes before you, so that you can further the regime, further the goals, further the plan. And you just don't gloat. Don't gloat over over your enemies. Kill them. Just get it out of the way.
Just dispatch them. Yeah.
It's procedural. That's all it is.
I love it.
So
yeah.
that is
so
the
don't
tip.
gloat. Don't gloat. Just get through to the next point. You have the vision. Stay with it. They are but a mere speed bump on the freeway to success in evil overlordship.
That is correct.
That's fair. I love it. That's you learn something each time. Hopefully nobody from your political candidacy race listens to evil overlord tips, because they'll just know. They'll be great at it. Well, I think that's it for our weekly content. We really appreciate you guys coming in. I love the chat was lighting up tonight. Thank you, everybody. You can reach out to us on socials, or you can hit us up. What are the Modern Relics Podcast at gmail.com. Let us know what's on your mind there. What do we got going? Do we got anything big coming up? Holidays are coming. It's going to be weird. I don't know which of those holidays land on Tuesday, but I don't have any major events to go to. I'm back on my side of the planet. You're hunkered in for the wintertime from visits and stuff so far, so I think it's business as usual for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm solid for this chair at this time, the same bat channel, same bat time. Nice. for a while. So
awesome. Well, then we will leave it in the capable hands of next week, and we'll let you know how the races turned out, both in New York and Coeur d'Alene by then. So hopefully everyone has an awesome evening, and we will see you then.